Hello, welcome to the video. So today I'm going to show you a little bit about 3D printing and a program that we're going to use to design models that we will then later 3D print. So today we're going to do just a little example that shows you how to design something, and it's not necessarily something that we're going to 3D print. And what we're going to be designing today is a character just for fun, just something that I don't know, it's just kind of a fun thing to make. So what we're going to do first is go to our website that we're going to use, which is called Tinkercad.com, which you should be able to access on any computer. And then once we're here at Tinkercad.com, you guys will want to sign up and create a new account. But since I already have an account, I'm just going to go ahead and hit sign in. I think it's going to remember who I was, and it sure is. Alright, so signing in. Alright, and then once we load up here, it's going to show you all the different things you've designed in the past, and I have a couple of them in here since I've used Tinkercad for a little while already. But what we're going to do now is just go ahead and create a new design. And so it's loading that up, and there we are. Alright, so we got a new design here. And the first thing we're going to do before we start anything is just change the name. It seems like every time they just load up a randomly generated name. Some of them are kind of cool, but we're not super interested in that, so we're just going to change that to whatever we want to call our robot. How about I call mine RoboDie. Robo-Die. Sweet. Alright, we got RoboDie. He's ready to be made. Alright, so now what we do is go down here to the work plane, and we can begin working. Before we do that, though, I'm just going to show you a little bit about how to navigate around Tinkercad, as that's really important to making a good robot, or a good character, I should say. I just chose to do a robot. So what you can do is, with your scroll button, you can scroll in and scroll out, and that changes the zoom level, which is really important for seeing details of your project. If you press the right click button, that allows you to change the angle that you're looking at the work plane at, which is really important as well to get a different view of whatever you're designing. And there's one last important navigation tool, and that is scrolling around on the work plane. And you do that by clicking in the scroll button and moving the mouse around. So there we go, and it let's move left and right and up and down, which is kind of tricky to do, but it's really important if you want to get a good view of what you're doing. Okay, so now we got that, so let's go ahead and we know our navigation tools. Let's go ahead and start designing. Alright, so how Tinkercad works is you just drop basic shapes down onto the work plane, and they're pre-made already. You just have to plop them down and put them together to make whatever you're trying to design. So it's really basic. You can't make a lot of organic shapes. Organic shapes are like curvy things, or like things that nature makes. So like a leaf would be really hard to make in here because it's not very geometric. It's not mathematical. So it's something we're going to try to avoid doing, because that can get really tricky when you try to make those. So using geometric shapes anyway, what I'm going to do first is just make the legs for my little robot. And to do that, I'm going to make him have cylindrical legs. So I'm going to plop down a cylinder here. It's a really big cylinder, though. It's really wide and not super leg-like right now. So one thing you can do to increase how good this circle looks, so you can see right now it's kind of got a lot of, you can see the edges there, and we don't really like that too much. So what we can do is increase the number of sides, and that makes it more of a perfect circle. Maximum is 64 though, but that's not perfect, but it looks pretty nice compared to what we had before. So that'll make it a little higher def, and I like the way that looks better, so I'm going to do that. Alright, and then let's resize this guy so it looks more like a leg. So to do that, we're going to click on this guy here, and you can drag it in and drag it out, and that's going to resize it. But I don't want to just drag it. I want to be a little bit more precise about that. So you can see these numbers that are chilling down here. I can just go ahead and change those, and that'll make it a little bit more precise. So I think I'm going to try 7. Let's see if it's going to take that 7. Okay. Oh my goodness. It's not liking me today. There we go. Change it to 7. And now it changed one side, and you change the other side to make it a perfect circle. And 7. So there we go. Now we got a perfect circle on top, and it's a cylinder, so it's what's it right now, like 20 high or so. And I want to change that a little bit, make it a little bit taller, make them look a little bit more like the legs. Let's do about 30. I like 30. Alright, so there's my light. I'm pretty happy with that light. It looks like a good light to me, so what I'm going to go ahead and do then, since nothing has just one light, is I'm going to go ahead and duplicate that. So, to duplicate a light, this is a really important tool to know, and it took me a while to learn this actually, but you can copy and paste something automatically by pressing Control and D at the same time on your keyboard. And what that does is it copies it and places it in the exact same location. So I did Control D, and that plopped another one down right there. I'm going to go ahead and move this guy to the right, and perfect. We got our legs right next to each other, and we can now move on to the next step. But actually, before we do that, I want my legs to be this far apart, and I don't want to accidentally move one and not move the other so that their spacing becomes different. So what I'm going to do is highlight both of these and put them in a group together. And that means that if I move one of them now, I'm going to move the other one too. So they're grouped together. Everything I do to one, I do to the other. Okay, so I'm happy with that. So we got our legs there. Alright, the next part is really important. And it's actually, this took me a long time to learn how to do, so I'm going to share it with you guys because it's a super essential tool, super useful. But I don't know, it's kind of hidden. It's hard to find how to use this tool. It doesn't really tell you anywhere. And what this tool does, it's called the work plane tool. It changes where your work plane is. So right now the work plane is in the default location, which is at the bottom, and it's that blue thing with the grid on it that you can see. And usually having it at the bottom is a good idea, but sometimes it is useful to change it. And the reason why is because you can place things on top of that work plane. So right now if I want to drop the body on top of these two legs that I have, I'm going to have to drop it on the work plane and move it up. And I can show you how I do that. So I just drop a box here, and if I want to get it there, I have to move it past the guy where I want it to be. So I'm going to click that, drag that in. And click this guy and drag this in. Oh, nope, not perfect. There we go, now it's perfect. Alright, awesome. He's got a curved head. Too curvy for me, though. Let's click this guy, make it a little bit shorter. Awesome, there we go. That's a perfect robot head. And then what we can do now is group these two, so whatever I do to one, I do to the other. And that'll make it a little bit better, so that I don't accidentally mess up one part. Okay, perfect. Yeah, a little curvy robot head. Nice little body. But if you remember, before I aligned the body with the legs, but I don't think this head is perfectly aligned with everything else anymore, so let's go ahead and fix that. Do that, just select everything again, and align center, and align it this way. Okay, everything's perfectly in line. Alright. Now, okay, this is a little tricky part we're going to do now. Probably the hardest part of the whole thing, honestly, is making the eyes and the mouth of our robot. And I want just a simple little eyes and mouth. So what I'm going to do is carve them into his face. And how you can do that is by using a box that's actually a hole. Okay, so I screwed up again. What I want to do is place the work plane first. So press W, put our work plane on this guy's face, and then put a box that's a hole right there. And what a hole does is it just carves a piece out instead of making a new piece on top. So it's pretty simple, and I think once I show you what I mean, like it'll make a lot of sense. So let's make this eye here, and let's make it a 2x2 eye. I'm going to be a little bit more exact about this part. Okay, so we got our 2x2 eye. And it's not in an eye location right now, so let's go ahead and fix that. Get the work plane out of there, it's a little bit distracting. Okay, there we go. We got our eye. Oh, we're moving it in the wrong direction. So we don't like that. Control Z, put it back where we started. Okay. Nope, we don't want to move it that way. We want to move it this way. Perfect. And then let's move it upwards. Nope, that's not what we wanted. It can be a little bit tricky to control this guy sometimes. Okay, there we go. Moving it upwards. Let's put it like right there. Awesome. Okay, so we got our eye right there. Let's push it in. Right now it's just on the surface of the head, but not actually into the head, so we got to move it inwards. And while we do that, if you press Shift and drag something, that'll move it in just one direction. So right now I can't move it up or down, I can only move it in and out. So there we go. So move it inwards, and I don't want the eye to be that deep. You can see there's a little dashed line, and that shows you like how far in you're going. So that's what that means. Okay, so we got our little eye there. Pretty happy with it. It's reaching out a bit, but that doesn't matter because that's just empty space, and it doesn't really matter if you have something reaching into empty space. So I'm going to be happy with that. But what I do want to do is make the second one of those eyes. So if you remember from the beginning of the video, you can make a second one of something by pressing Control and D, and that copies it. And then let's go ahead and move. So now there's two of them stacked on top of each other, so let's move one. There we go. Now you can see we got two eyes there. Okay, and those eyes are not exactly centered, but what we can do here is select both of our eyes. And we got one. Okay, maybe it's at the scroll on top of them. There we go. Got both those eyes. Group them. So now whatever we do to one, we're going to do the other. Let's go ahead and center them on his body. Okay, so select everything. Align. We gotta zoom out so we can hit the center button. There we go. Center that way. But we don't want to center it this way, or else the eyes will go way into his head and be super deep in there. And that is not something that we want. But you can see now, the eyes are centered on his head. So that's good. Alright. Pretty small eyes, but it's okay. It's just a robot. He doesn't need to be perfect. Alright, so let's put a mouth on him now, and then that'll be the last piece for his head. Okay, so to do the mouth, what we're going to do is take another box. It doesn't need to be a box-shaped mouth, but I'm just going to do a box-shaped mouth because I want to. And let's place it right there. Actually, you know what might be easier? Is if we just take his eye and turn it into a mouth. So duplicate one of the eyes. So let's ungroup them so we can select just one. Command D. Alright, and then drag it down to the mouth location. Okay. That's about where a mouth would be, I think. Oh, you can see I accidentally changed my holes into solids, and we don't want that. We want them to be holes that are tiny into his face, not weird little eyes reaching out of his face. So let's, oh my goodness, select both of those, just the two eyes. Change those to holes. There we go. Perfect. Okay, and we got our mouth here. Actually, I should have done that to the mouth as well, because the mouth is going to be cutting into his face as well. Perfect. Okay, now let's make our mouth a little bit wider. Okay, and we do that just by selecting this guy and dragging it out there. Perfect. It's a good little mouth. Still not centered though, so I'm sure you're aware. So let's go ahead and center that guy. Center everything actually. Okay, so select everything, align, and center. Oh shoot, you can see I screwed up because I didn't group the eyes, so now they're on top of each other. So let's Control Z to undo that. There we go. Got our eyes back where they should be. Group those together. Come on, you can do it. There we go. Group those guys back together. So now they'll stay equally far apart, which is what we want them to do. Okay, select everything one more time. Align. Center them. Alright, now our mouth is centered. Our eyes are centered, and our body's centered. Alright, what we can do now is make this look a little bit nicer so we don't have the things reaching out of his face like that. And we can group everything together, and that'll make those cuts permanent. Alright, I guess we can undo them, but they'll appear on his face. Okay, so you can see now if we zoom in, he's got his little eye. Oh my goodness, I made this guy look frightened. Oh, poor little dude. Okay. My character is a scary looking one, but that's alright. Okay, so we got our little robot guy there, and he's not looking great, but he's still looking like my character, and I'm going to stand by him and love him, because he's my little dude. Okay, so we got one last step here, which is arms. The arms should be pretty similar to the legs. I don't think they'll be too difficult. what I'm going to do is use a cylinder here, make some cylindrical arms, make them pretty small. I don't care exactly how small they are, but they do need to be the same size as each other. So let's go 4 by 4 so that they're perfect circles. That arm looks a little bit long to me. That looks about good for an arm size. Okay. And then the arms, what we're going to do with them, put them at his side here. I'm just going to kind of eyeball it, not be super exact. You don't need to be. You can be as exact or as unexact as you feel like. Okay, lift that guy up. That's about arm height. But now it's not. It's just sitting next to his body. It's not part of it. So what I'm going to do is tilt it until it makes contact with his body. And there we go. And I think I want his arm a little bit higher. Yeah, there we go. That looks pretty good. I like the way that arm looks. So now I'm going to go ahead and copy it. So Command D, copy. So now there's two of them on top of each other. Move one of them straight over to the left. And now it's not the right direction, so we're going to need to mirror it. And we can do that just by clicking on this button here and turning it 180 degrees. And there we go. Alright, so there we got two arms. I think I'm going to move this arm just a little bit. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so that arm, not quite perfect yet. Let's give it a little bit more adjustment. Move it upwards a little bit here, looks like. Okay, gotta get that angle back. Whoopsies. Okay. Still not perfect though. Yeah, gotta push it in a little bit more. It's not exactly symmetrical with the other one. There we go. Alright, just check it from the front, make sure it looks good. And I think it does. So here's our robot. This is our finished product, and that's the character that I chose to make was a robot. But yet again, you can choose whatever you want to make, as long as it involves using Tinkercad. So I've shown you how to create something in Tinkercad. Now I'm going to show you what a 3D print looks like and how the machine operates. So let's move on over to the 3D printer now.